In 1066, a great battle was fought in Hastings, England, which would mark the end of the Anglo Saxon rule and the beginning of the Norman conquest. This battle, known as the Battle of Hastings, was fought between the Norman-French army of William, Duke of Normandy, and the Anglo-Saxon army of King Harold Roman II of England. The events leading up to the battle date back to 1051, when the childless King of England, Edward the Confessor, promised the English throne to his cousin William, the Duke of Normandy. However, on January 5, 1066, King Edward died, and the English Witan, the Advisory Council, appointed Harold Godwinson, Earl of Wessex, as the new King of England. News of Harold's appointment reached William in Normandy, and he claimed that he had been promised the English throne by King Edward. William gathered an army of over 7,000 men, including soldiers, knights, and archers, and set sail for England to claim his rightful place as the King of England. On September 28, 1066, William landed on the English coast, near the town of Hastings, and began his military campaign. King Harold, who was resting with his army in the north of England, immediately marched southward to stop the Norman invasion. On October 13, the two armies met at the battlefield of Hastings, which was surrounded by forests, hills, and a marshland. The Anglo Saxon army was comprised of approximately 7,000 foot soldiers, and most of them were farmers and peasants who carried axes, spears, and swords. The Norman army, on the other hand, was much smaller, with only 5,000 soldiers, but they were better armed, and each of them carried a sword, a helmet, and a shield. The Normans also had a group of archers who could shoot arrows up to 400 feet. The battle began at dawn, and it was intense from the start. Harold chose to position his army on the top of a hill, which provided them with an advantage, but it also meant that they were unable to move quickly. William, on the other hand, chose to send his archers to shoot arrows at the Anglo-Saxon army, which caused them to break formation and come down from the hill. The Normans then launched an attack with their cavalry and charged towards the Anglo-Saxon army, causing a chaotic and bloody melee. King Harold was killed early in the battle, and his death weakened the resolve of the Anglo-Saxon army. The Normans then took advantage of the situation and began to push the Anglo-Saxons back towards the hill. The battle lasted for several hours, and the casualties on both sides were high. However, towards the end of the day, the Anglo-Saxon army was in disarray and unable to hold their ground. They were eventually defeated, and the Norman army emerged victorious. The Battle of Hastings changed the course of English history, as it marked the end of the Anglo-Saxon rule, which had lasted for over 600 years. William of Normandy was crowned the King of England in Westminster Abbey on Christmas Day, 1066, and he became known as William the Conqueror. The Norman conquest had a significant impact on England, as it introduced the French language, the feudal system, and a new social structure. The Battle of Hastings is a crucial event in the history of England, and it has been the subject of numerous books, films, and documentaries.